The August sun hung low over Selma, Alabama, casting long shadows across cracked sidewalks and rusting fences. Monica Harris sat stiffly behind the wheel of her aging sedan as it crawled up the familiar dirt driveway. Dust plumed behind her like a ghost chasing the past. The old Freeman house stood at the end of the road, weathered, pale gray with siding peeling, the wraparound porch sagging slightly at one corner, like it, too, had grown tired of standing. In the passenger seat, Jacob lay silent, his head propped gently against a rolled towel. His eyes, sharp but unreadable, followed the movement of trees swaying lazily in the wind. A nasal cannula delivered oxygen to his lungs. Beneath the blanket, his body was still, a prisoner within itself. Monica parked, shut off the engine, and sat still. She stared up at the house she hadn't stepped inside in nearly 30 years. "You ready, baby?" she whispered, brushing a strand of hair from Jacob's forehead. He didn't respond. He hadn't spoken a word in the 6 months since the accident. The front door opened before she knocked. Carolyn, her younger sister by 4 years, stood in the doorway wearing a sleeveless linen blouse, arms crossed, lips already pursed in judgment. She gave Jacob a brief glance, then looked back at Monica. "You didn't call," Carolyn said flatly. "I didn't have time to explain on the phone," Monica replied, stepping aside as a hired medical transport worker carefully unloaded Jacob's wheelchair from the back of the car. Carolyn didn't move to help. "Daddy's not gonna like this. I didn't come for his permission." Inside, the house smelled of aged wood and lemon cleaner. The floors creaked underfoot, the same way they had when Monica was a girl tiptoeing home past curfew. But now, every corner seemed smaller, suffocating even. Jacob was wheeled into what used to be Monica's childhood bedroom, where Carolyn had already stripped the bed and moved some boxes. She hadn't done it kindly, but she had done it. Later that evening, as twilight thickened outside the windows, Walter Freeman descended the staircase. Time had hollowed him out, but not softened him. He still wore suspenders over his button-down shirt and polished his boots every Sunday, even if he had long stopped going to church. "You didn't ask," he said without preamble. Monica was in the kitchen, spooning mashed sweet potatoes into a bowl for Jacob. "I didn't need to." "You're not staying long," Walter said. "This house doesn't run on your terms." "I'm not here for comfort," Monica said quietly. "I'm here because my son needs a roof and care. You want to throw out your grandson too." Walter's jaw tightened, but he said nothing more. Monica fed Jacob slowly that night, his mouth responding slightly with each careful spoonful. His eyes darted around the room, not panicked, but alert, searching. Sometimes they landed on Monica with something that looked like urgency. Like he was trying to say something and couldn't. "You want to tell me something?" she asked softly. One blink. "Okay. 1 blink for yes. 2 for no. Let's try that." He blinked once. Monica smiled faintly and touched his cheek. "We're gonna figure this out, baby. I promise." The next morning, Eli showed up. Her brother, broader now, his hair receding but still trying to hold onto his youthful swagger. He didn't hug her. He stood at the kitchen counter with a coffee mug and barely looked her in the eye. "Carolyn says you're moving in permanently." "I didn't say permanently," Monica replied, chopping vegetables for Jacob's broth. "Just until I figure things out." Eli scoffed. "Don't come back here and act like you're owed something. You left. You vanished." "I left because I couldn't breathe here. You think I wanted to stay and rot under Daddy's thumb? You think the rest of us didn't feel that? We didn't get to leave." Monica turned to face him. "You could've. You chose to stay." Eli looked like he might say more, but instead he dumped the rest of his coffee down the sink and walked out. That afternoon, while organizing old boxes in the attic, trying to make room for Jacob's medical equipment, Monica found a dusty cedar chest tucked beneath a moth-eaten quilt. Inside, under photo albums and birth certificates, she discovered a small envelope addressed in her mother's delicate handwriting. "To Monica. For your eyes only." The paper had yellowed at the edges. Her hand trembled as she held it. But before she could slip a finger under the seal, she noticed it. There was a tiny tear along the back flap. Someone had already opened it and resealed it. Monica stared at the letter for a long time. She felt her chest tighten in that familiar ancient way, the feeling of not being safe even in her own home. She placed the letter back in the envelope but didn't open it. Not yet. Not tonight. Later, while sitting by Jacob's side, she leaned close and whispered, "Was it really just an accident, baby?" He blinked. Slowly. Once. Yes. He blinked again. Once. Yes again. Or are you trying to say something else? His eyes locked with hers. There was something behind them. Something sharp. Something that didn't belong to a child. That night, the air in the Freeman house felt heavier. Carolyn walked past Jacob's room without looking in. Walter read the newspaper but didn't turn the page for an hour. Eli's car wasn't in the driveway. And Monica, sitting alone by the window, finally slipped the letter from her mother out of its envelope, only to pause again. Her instincts prickled. Why had it been opened before? Who had read it? And why had they put it back? She folded it closed again and tucked it into her purse. Not tonight. The wind outside stirred the porch swing. Inside, Monica sat in silence beside her silent son, both of them trapped in a house full of unfinished sentences. The mornings came early in Selma. By 5 a.m., the cicadas had started their chorus. Dew slicked the windows, and the heat already curled at the edges of the day. Monica Harris sat at the edge of Jacob's bed with a warm washcloth, gently cleaning his face. His eyes were open, watching her, quiet and constant. She still hadn't opened her mother's letter. Some part of her wanted to wait until her mind was calm, but calm was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not here, not now. Between the diaper changes, the medications, the blended meals, and the hourly position shifts to keep Jacob's skin from breaking down, Monica barely had time to breathe. But she did it all, tenderly, methodically. Her son had been a track star, built like a deer, always running. Now, he couldn't even scratch his own nose. She combed his hair and whispered, "You're still here. That's what matters." Jacob blinked once. Slowly. Later that morning, Monica found Carolyn standing on the front porch, staring out at the street with a cup of instant coffee in hand. Monica stepped out, her shirt clinging to her skin from the already climbing humidity. "I need to take Jacob in for his follow-up appointment this week," Monica said, gently. Carolyn didn't look at her. "You expect me to give you the car? I thought maybe we could share it, for now. I just need a few hours." Carolyn turned to face her fully. Her face was tight. "Don't act like this is your house. You waltz back in here after 30 years and think everyone should drop their lives to support your mess. My mess is your nephew. He's not the reason you came back. You came back sniffing around what's left of Mama's money. Just like you always do, run off, then return when it suits you." Monica stiffened. "You think I'm here for an inheritance?" Carolyn took a step closer. "I know Daddy redid the will after Mama died. You're not in it anymore, if that's what you're asking. I'm not asking for a damn cent. I'm here because Jacob's life changed overnight, and I had nowhere else to go. That's because you burned every other bridge you had." Monica flinched. She opened her mouth to answer, but stopped. What was the point? She turned and walked back inside. Later, as Jacob napped, Monica sat on the back steps of the house, sipping sweet tea and staring into the yard. The old dogwood tree they used to climb was still standing, barely. Its branches gnarled now, reaching like bones. A sudden memory, her younger self, climbing out that second-story window during a thunderstorm, backpack strapped tight, Walter's voice thundering downstairs. She'd run until her legs gave out. She hadn't looked back. Until now. That evening, she returned to Jacob's room to unpack the last of his things. His old backpack, the one from school, was still zipped, untouched since the accident. She opened it slowly, expecting crumpled papers and forgotten gum wrappers. but what she found chilled her. Tucked between a binder and an empty water bottle was a folded scrap of paper. It was smudged and torn at the edges, the handwriting rushed and almost shaky. He wasn't supposed to survive. Her hands trembled as she read it again. Jacob's accident had happened on a rural back road late at night. A tire mark in the ditch, the car overturned. Everyone had assumed it was just a bad turn. No mention had ever been made of another vehicle. But now, this. She looked at Jacob, who was watching her from the bed, eyes unblinking. "Did you write this?" she whispered. He blinked. Once. Then again. Then 2 quick blinks. She wasn't sure what that meant. "You weren't alone in the car, were you?" "Nothing." His eyes stayed on hers. Was someone trying to hurt you?" Still nothing. Monica folded the note and tucked it into her pocket. That night at dinner, Walter insisted they eat at the table. Monica served herself last, then went to check on Jacob before sitting down. From the hallway, she overheard Carolyn and Eli whispering at the table. "She's digging. Asking questions about the crash," Carolyn said. "She always did think everything was some big conspiracy," Eli muttered. "She'll get tired and leave again. She always does." Monica walked in and set her plate down without a word. Walter cleared his throat. "If you're going to stay here, you'll pull your weight. I don't have time for freeloaders. I cook. I clean. I care for Jacob day and night. That's more weight than any of you are carrying." "You made your choice when you left," Walter said. "Don't come back expecting the world to stop turning for you." Monica pushed her plate away. Maybe if the world had stopped for Mama, she wouldn't have gotten sick in silence. The table went quiet. Carolyn looked down. Eli stared at the wall. Walter said nothing. That night, alone in her room, Monica took the letter from her purse. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at it again. The torn seal. The shaky handwriting. She turned it over in her hands. And then, again, she didn't open it. Instead, she walked to Jacob's room. He was awake, staring up at the ceiling. "I found something," she said softly. "In your bag." His eyes shifted to hers. "You weren't supposed to survive?" Her voice cracked. "Who would want to hurt you?" His eyes blinked once. "Do you know who it was?" 2 blinks. Monica exhaled. "You're scared." A single blink. She took his hand, though it didn't squeeze back. "I'm not. Not anymore. I promise you, we're going to find the truth." Somewhere outside, a dog barked in the distance. Inside, Jacob blinked again, slow, deliberate, and haunted. The next morning brought a strange quiet over the Freeman house. A thick layer of fog hung low over Selma's cracked sidewalks, blurring the boundary between the past and present. Monica stood in the doorway of Jacob's room, watching his chest rise and fall beneath the thin sheet. His blinking had stopped for now. His eyes, though open, were distant. Somewhere between here and wherever his mind had drifted. She ran her fingers across his backpack again, the note still folded tightly in her pocket. The words haunted her. He wasn't supposed to survive. She stepped out of the room and picked up her phone. There were 3 names from Jacob's contact list she hadn't yet dared to call. The first one, Noah Lancaster, was Jacob's closest friend. Monica remembered him from years ago, a quiet boy who once helped Jacob build a treehouse out back during a summer visit. She hit dial before she could talk herself out of it. 20 minutes later, she was parked outside a modest auto shop off Highway 80. A sign read Lancaster and Sons Tire Service. The air reeked of oil and old rubber. Noah, now 18 and broader than she remembered, came out wiping his hands with a dirty rag. "Miss Harris," he said, eyes flickering with discomfort. "I need to talk," she said, cutting to the chase. "About the night of Jacob's crash." Noah shifted his weight. "I already told the police what I knew. I'm not the police." He hesitated, then gestured toward the side of the building. They sat on a rusted metal bench that squeaked under them. You two were close, Monica said. We were. Noah nodded. He changed this past year. Got quiet. Real tense. I asked him what was going on once. He said something about the family. Then he told me to drop it. What do you know about the accident? Noah looked away. Not much. He said he was going to meet someone. Wouldn't say who. I begged him not to drive that night. It was storming, remember? He wasn't alone in the car, Monica said quietly. Noah turned sharply. What? He wasn't alone. I think someone else was with him when the car crashed. I think they left him there. He swallowed. That's not what I heard. What did you hear? He looked down at his hands. That the police didn't find another set of prints. No other blood. No trace of anyone but Jacob. But I heard from a girl, Jamie, used to hang out with us. She said someone else was there that night. She won't talk now. Says it's too dangerous. Monica's stomach turned. Dangerous how? Noah didn't answer. But his silence said enough. When she returned to the house, Walter was waiting at the top of the porch steps like a sentinel. He watched her closely as she climbed up, brushing past him without a word. Inside, Carolyn sat in the living room reading over property documents. She didn't look up. Don't suppose you told Daddy you were snooping around town? Carolyn said. I'm not snooping. I'm asking questions about my son. Carolyn sighed. You're always looking for someone to blame. Monica's voice sharpened. I found a note in Jacob's bag. Somebody didn't want him to survive. Carolyn's face stiffened. You sure Jacob didn't write that himself? Kids do dramatic things all the time. He can't even hold a pen. I mean before the accident. That made Monica pause. What are you hiding? Carolyn stood. I'm not doing this with you. If you want to live in this house, you'll stop stirring the pot. Daddy's already talking about putting the house on the market. He can't do that. He can. And he will. That night, Monica sat beside Jacob again, her laptop open on the tray table. She combed through articles, police reports, any hint about the accident. But something kept tugging at her memory. There had been a gas station near the crash site. She searched the map, then made some calls. After a few dead ends, she reached a man named Stanley, the manager at the station. Yes, ma'am, he said over the phone. We had security cameras. But that footage. Police came to collect it. Was it working that night? Stanley hesitated. Sure was. I even reviewed it before handing it over. Did you see my son's car? I did. But the weird thing is, when I asked about it later, the officers said the footage was blank. Wiped clean. Monica's blood ran cold. You're sure? As sure as I'm standing here. Someone did something to that tape. She thanked him and hung up, her hands shaking. In Jacob's room, the blinking began again. 1 blink. 2. Then a longer pause. Monica reached for the Morse code chart she had taped beside his bed. He blinked again. This time with rhythm. Tasha had been helping her learn the patterns. Now, she counted carefully. B-L-I-N-K-S. The message spelled out, W-A-T-C-H-E-D. Watched. Later that night, Monica crept downstairs to the kitchen for water. As she passed the hallway, she heard a voice from Walter's study. The door was cracked. She paused. Eli's voice. She's getting too close, he whispered over the phone. She's asking around about the night of the crash. She found something. I don't know what, but she's not letting it go. A pause. Then he added, if she keeps digging, she'll figure it out. Monica stood frozen in the dark, heart pounding. Monica had barely slept. Every creak of the house, every whistle of wind against the old siding set her nerves on edge. But the worst part, the part that rattled deepest, was Jacob's eyes. They never closed. They watched. And now they were blinking with purpose. She stood at the foot of his bed, the morning light cutting pale streaks through the curtains. Her notepad sat beside her, next to a crumpled printout of Morse code. Monica had never been good with puzzles, but this wasn't a game. It was communication. And her son, silent, paralyzed Jacob, was fighting to be heard. "Okay," she whispered. "Start again." Jacob blinked once. Then twice. Then 3 short blinks. She waited. He paused. Then, 1 long blink. Short. 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 Long. S-O-S. Her heart thudded. Later that morning, Monica drove to the Selma County Clinic, desperate for someone, anyone, to believe what she suspected. Tasha Green, the young nurse with steady eyes and braided hair, was on her break when Monica approached. "Tasha," Monica said, breathless. "I need your help." Tasha's brows lifted. "You okay?" "It's Jacob. He's communicating through blinks, Morse code. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real." There was a beat of silence. Then, "Come with me." In the back corner of the clinic, Tasha pulled a folding chair into a quiet nurse's station. Monica spread out her notes, shaky with urgency. "I tracked patterns all night," she said, "and he keeps repeating the same sequences. But this morning, he blinked sos. That can't be random." Tasha looked over the paper, quiet. Then she surprised Monica. "My brother used Morse code after he lost his speech in a stroke. It's real. It's frustrating and slow, but real." Monica's eyes welled. "You believe me?" "I believe Jacob's got something to say." That afternoon, the 2 women sat at Jacob's bedside, a simple notepad in Tasha's lap. They took turns reading letters aloud. Jacob would blink once to stop them, twice to pass. It was slow, painful. But then, after 45 minutes of silence, something began to take shape. "Theylied. Tasha looked at Monica. "He's trying to tell you someone lied." "Who?" Monica whispered. Jacob blinked once. Tasha read through names. "Carolyn. Eli. Walter." Monica added softly, "Your dad." A single blink. Monica's throat closed. After Tasha left, Monica sat in Jacob's room with the blinds drawn. Her fingers gripped the old note from his backpack. He wasn't supposed to survive. That phrase pulsed in her mind like thunder behind a closed door. Everything was off. The way the police closed the case. The way Walter never asked questions. The fact that the gas station footage was wiped. And now Jacob, the one person everyone thought was lost to silence, was whispering from the edge of the void. "They lied," she repeated. Who lied? What were they hiding? Her eyes shifted to the unopened letter from her mother on the nightstand. Torn seal. Resealed with tape. She touched it, then pulled her hand away. Not yet. That evening, Monica cooked dinner alone. Carolyn and Walter were still out, and Eli hadn't been seen all day. The air in the house was thick with unspoken tension. She took a tray to Jacob and sat beside him while he ate through the feeding tube, the slow humming of the pump like a metronome of grief. "I saw Eli on the phone last night," she said softly. "He said I was getting too close." Jacob blinked once. Hard. Deliberate. "I don't know what he meant," Monica said. "But if he was in the car with you, if that's what this is about, I need you to tell me." Jacob blinked rapidly. 3 blinks. Stop. Tasha had taught her that. 3 blinks in quick succession meant no, or not safe. Monica sat up straighter. Not safe to say. 1 blink. Monica's stomach twisted. "Jacob, are you afraid of Eli?" 2 blinks. Relief. "No." She took his hand. "Then who?" He blinked once. "Walter." A long pause. Then, 1 blink. Her father. That night, after Jacob slept, Monica slipped into the hallway and made her way downstairs to the old den, Walter's sacred space. Books lined the walls, mostly Southern history and war memoirs, but tucked between them were years of neglected files. She opened the locked drawer with a bobby pin, just like she'd done when she was 16. Inside, deeds, letters, and a list of phone calls from the month Jacob crashed. One number was highlighted. It didn't belong to Carolyn or Eli. It belonged to David, Monica's ex-husband. As she rose from the drawer, she heard a sound behind her, the subtle creak of floorboards. Eli stood in the doorway, half lit by the moon. "What are you doing in here?" he asked, voice flat. "Looking," she said. "Like you said, I'm getting close." He stepped into the room. "You don't know what you're dealing with." Monica didn't flinch. "Then tell me." Eli leaned against the wall. "You think Jacob's the only one who got hurt that night? There are things buried in this family. Deep. I'm not afraid of the truth. Maybe you should be." He left without another word. Back upstairs, Monica sat beside Jacob once more. His eyes fluttered open, as if he'd sensed something shift. She leaned close. "I'm not going to stop. I promise you, I'm going to get us both out of this house. But I need to know more." Jacob began blinking. "Faster now. Urgent." Tasha's chart was on the wall. Monica followed along. F-A-M-I-L-Y. She breathed in. Then another word formed. O-T-H-E-R. Other family, she whispered. A blink. Then P-A-S-E-N-G-E-R. Monica sat perfectly still. Other passenger. Family. The sun rose over Selma like it was dragging itself across the sky. Heavy, reluctant, weary. Monica watched the golden light stretch across the dusty hardwood floors of her childhood home. But there was no warmth in it. Not anymore. She stood at the kitchen counter, holding the sealed letter from her mother in one hand, its torn edge taped shut. The temptation to finally read it was unbearable. But something stopped her. Maybe fear, maybe respect. Or maybe she already knew, deep down, that whatever it contained would confirm everything she dreaded was true. In the next room, Jacob lay still, eyes fluttering in shallow sleep. She had barely rested. His last message echoed in her mind like a hymn she couldn't stop humming. Other passenger. Family. And now, she suspected one of her siblings had been in the car with Jacob the night everything shattered. That afternoon, Monica stood at the foot of the long, oak dining table. It hadn't changed since they were kids, still scarred by cigarette burns and knife scratches from teenage tantrums. Walter, seated at the head, tapped a silver spoon against his coffee mug like a judge banging a gavel. "I've decided to sell the house," he announced, his voice blunt. Monica's heart skipped. "What?" Carolyn, seated beside him, didn't look up. "It's time, Monica. The place is falling apart, and none of us have the money to keep it going." "You don't get to decide that without talking to me," Monica snapped. "You left," Carolyn said simply. "You forfeited your say a long time ago." Walter grunted. This house was always going to fall back to Eli. He's stayed. He's earned it. You and Jacob are just passing through. Monica's throat tightened. "You want to throw us out?" "No one's throwing you out," Walter said. "But we'll need you out of the way when the sale begins. We're looking at a deal before the summer's over." Monica stared at him, then at Carolyn. "Is this about money, or is this about covering something up?" Carolyn rolled her eyes. "Here we go." Monica took a breath. "Jacob told me the other passenger was family." The room went still. Walter's eyes narrowed. "You expect us to believe that boys blinking means anything?" He's spelling out words. Full messages. "You can ignore it if you want, but I won't." Carolyn stood up fast, her chair scraping. "Maybe he's confused. Or maybe you are." Monica turned to her. "Then why are you both so scared? Why are pages missing from Mom's letter?" Why was the gas station footage wiped? I don't know what you're talking about. Monica's voice lowered, steel in every word. I think Eli was in the car. And I think you all know it. Eli didn't show up until sundown. When he walked in through the back door, the house was quiet, but charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. Monica confronted him in the hallway, her hands trembling but firm. Were you with Jacob that night? She asked. Eli didn't answer right away. His face was unreadable. She stepped closer. He's spelling out words, Eli. He said the other passenger was family. I was home that night, Eli said softly. Ask anyone. I'm asking you. I didn't hurt him. That's not what I asked. He leaned in, his jaw tight. You don't get to come back here after all these years and play detective. I'm not playing. I'm his mother. And I know when someone's lying to me. Their eyes locked. Eli broke first. I tried to help him. That's all I'm gonna say. That night, Monica sat with Jacob again. His blinking returned, more insistent now. She wrote each letter down carefully. Motherletter. I found it, she said gently. But someone opened it. And part of it's missing. Jacob blinked once. Do you know what was in it? 2 blinks. No. Then another message. FINDBOX. Box. Monica stood quickly, scanning the room. She checked the closet, behind the dresser, even under Jacob's bed. Nothing. But something inside her told her the letter, and everything missing from it, wasn't random. It was hidden. The next day, Monica went up to the attic. The dust clung to her skin like cobwebs of memory. Old trunks. Cracked photo albums. Faded toys from 3 siblings who once believed they'd always be a team. In the far corner, behind a stack of broken chairs, she found it, a small cedar chest, locked but not sealed. She pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside, cards, family photos, dried flowers. And then, the rest of the letter. Yellowed pages tucked deep inside a Bible. She sat on the floor and read. Monica, if you're reading this, it means you've come home when I feared you might. Please take Jacob and go. Don't let Walter manipulate you. There are things you don't know, things Jacob may have already discovered. I wanted to tell you years ago, but I was scared. Of what it might mean. Of what it might cost. I know I failed you all, in ways you may never forgive. But this house, it poisons us. And you were the only one who ever tried to escape. Don't look back. Take him. Leave. Monica folded the letter slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. Her mother had known. All along. That evening, the family sat down for dinner. Walter insisted. Said it was time they acted civil. The table was tense, silent. Forks scraped. Water glasses clinked. Carolyn finally broke. If you're going to accuse someone, Monica, do it. Or shut up. Monica placed the letter on the table. This is from Mom. The full letter. She warned me. Told me to take Jacob and leave. She knew something. Eli stared at the letter, pale. Walter scoffed. That woman was never right in the head. She knew enough to warn me about you, Monica snapped. You come in here, stirring up old wounds. No, she said. These wounds never healed because you buried the truth instead of facing it. Carolyn stood again. Enough. Monica looked to Eli. You said you tried to help Jacob. From what? Eli looked down. Then, almost inaudibly, he said he was going to expose something. What? She whispered. He didn't answer. But he didn't deny it either. The morning after the explosive dinner, a suffocating silence fell over the Freeman home like a fog too thick to move through. Monica stood alone at the kitchen sink, the steady trickle of the faucet masking her thoughts. Her mother's full letter sat folded in her pocket. Every word rang louder with each moment. Take Jacob and go. But Jacob was fading, faster than Monica wanted to admit. And leaving now would mean letting the darkness win. Monica had begun to notice strange gaps in the house, not just in the story of the crash, but in its very structure. Walter, once a titan in the family, had begun shuffling papers late at night, locking drawers that used to stay open. Carolyn whispered to him in hushed tones, eyes darting toward Monica. Eli kept his distance, but every once in a while, she'd catch his stare, haunted, guilty, tired. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Later that afternoon, Monica decided to clean out the sewing room, an old sunroom her mother once claimed as her own space. Light filtered in through warped blinds, dancing across dust and forgotten memories. As she opened an antique cabinet, a strange creaking noise came from the bottom drawer. It was wedged shut. Monica pulled hard, and something snapped. Inside, she found an old metal tin box stuffed with papers, receipts, photographs, and near the bottom, a document folded into quarters and wrapped in plastic, a will. Her heart pounded as she opened it. It was dated 15 years ago. The handwriting was neat, familiar, her mother's. It began, "To whom it may concern, this is the last will and testament of Margaret Freeman." As Monica read further, her breath caught. The house, the very land they lived on, had been intended for Monica, not Eli or Carolyn. Margaret had left a revised deed transferring ownership to her daughter. The change had never been filed officially, but it was notarized. She sat back on her heels, stunned. Her mother hadn't just wanted her to leave for safety. She had given her the legal right to take the house, the one place Walter now lorded over like a throne. Monica clenched the will in her hands. She wasn't just fighting for Jacob. She had a rightful claim. That evening, Monica found Carolyn alone in the garden, pruning dead rosebushes their mother once adored. She approached slowly. "Did you know?" Monica asked. Carolyn didn't turn. "Know what?" "That Mom left the house to me." Now Carolyn froze. "You found it." Monica didn't answer. She didn't need to. Carolyn turned slowly, eyes fierce. "She changed her mind," Carolyn hissed. "She just never had the guts to say it out loud. She had it notarized. You don't understand what this house means to this family." "I think I understand better than anyone." Carolyn stepped closer, the shears still in her hand. "You always think you're the savior, that you're the victim. But you left. You weren't here when things got bad. You weren't here when Dad got sick, when Eli lost his job, when you what?" Monica pushed. Carolyn looked away. "You're hiding something," Monica said. Carolyn's voice cracked. "We all are." That night, Monica visited a neighbor, Mrs. Hattie Polk, an old friend of her mother's who still lived 2 houses down. "She always talked about you," Hattie said, pouring tea. "Said you were the only one with enough fire to burn through the old man's rules." Monica smiled faintly. "Did she ever talk to you about the will?" Hattie nodded slowly. "Told me she changed it after that big fight with Walter. Said she wanted you to have the house in case something happened. Monica's the only one who'll make sure Jacob's taken care of," she said. Monica's hand tightened around her teacup. "Did she say what the fight was about?" "She found something out. Said Walter had done something during those years Eli got into trouble. Something about money being hidden, or used to buy silence." Monica's heart stuttered. "You think Jacob found out what it was?" she asked. Hattie's silence was answer enough. Back at the house, Monica found Eli in the garage, hunched over an old toolbox. He looked up, startled. "You okay?" he asked, wiping his hands. "I found Mom's will," she said plainly. He paused, then nodded slowly. "I figured you might. She left the house to me, Eli." "I know. You knew. She told me. Said she'd sent you a copy, too. Guess it never got there." Monica stepped closer. Is that why you were in the car with Jacob that night? Eli's expression shifted, something between panic and pain. He said he was going to go public with what he knew. About Walter. About what he did to keep his reputation clean. What did Walter do? Eli shook his head. I don't know exactly. But it was bad enough that Jacob thought it would destroy all of us. And you were afraid of that? Eli met her eyes. I was afraid it would kill Dad. And maybe I was afraid it would kill me, too. Just then, a voice called from the back door. It was Tasha, the nurse. You need to come quick. It's Jacob. Monica and Eli raced back inside. Jacob was in distress, his breathing shallow, fingers twitching uncontrollably. Monica dropped to her knees. Jacob, baby, look at me. Tasha administered oxygen, calming him slightly. His eyes darted, blinking fast. Monica grabbed the notebook. She began decoding. B-L-A-C-K-M-A-I-L. She stared at the word, blood draining from her face. Who was blackmailing who? She asked. Jacob blinked. Slow. W-A-L-T-E-R. Eli stepped back, horror dawning on his face. Tasha looked between them. What does it mean? Monica's voice was steady now, cold. It means this house wasn't just built on secrets. It was built on silence. Bought silence. Later that night, Monica returned to her bedroom. She laid out the will, the letter, and Jacob's blinking notes like puzzle pieces on the bedspread. She was close. The truth was near. She could feel the weight of it pressing through the walls of this house. And if she didn't bring it to light, no one ever would. The wind howled low across Selma that morning, thick with the smell of rain and memory. Monica stood barefoot on the porch, staring out across her late mother's garden. The roses hadn't bloomed this year. Maybe they knew, too, that this house had become a burial ground for more than one truth. She clutched Jacob's notebook, flipping through the jagged handwriting where she'd recorded his blinks, each word unraveling the tightrope the family had walked for decades. Lied. Family. Blackmail. Walter. And now, with the sky rumbling above them and Jacob growing weaker by the day, Monica knew it was time to burn through the fog. Back inside, the power flickered as Monica huddled at the dining table with Tasha Green, the local nurse who had become more confidant than caregiver. I need to see that gas station footage, Monica said, her voice low. Tasha hesitated. I told you, they wiped it after 30 days. Then we find someone who can dig deeper. Tasha paused, then reached into her purse. Actually, I already did. She pulled out a USB drive. Monica, I didn't want to show you unless I was sure it meant something. But I know someone who works security systems in town. He managed to recover partial footage from the backup server. The night of the crash. Monica's hands trembled as she inserted the USB into her laptop. The footage loaded, grainy but real. A timestamp in the corner read, March 14th, 10:42 p.m. The gas station was dimly lit, mostly empty. Then, Jacob's silver car pulled in. Moments later, Eli stepped into frame. He looked tense, scanning the lot. Then he opened the passenger door and got in. Monica's blood ran cold. Tasha whispered, You were right. That evening, the storm thickened. Thunder rolled like distant gunfire, the clouds bruised and heavy. Monica found Eli in the barn, fiddling with a rusted radio. Rain hammered the tin roof above them. You lied to me, she said. Eli stiffened. I saw the footage, Monica continued. You were with Jacob. You got in the car. You didn't just argue with him. You were there. He turned slowly, soaked in guilt. I was trying to stop him. From what? From telling the truth? Or from exposing what Dad did? Eli didn't answer at first. Then, you don't understand, Monica. If the truth came out, none of us would be safe. It wasn't just about Walter. It was about money, power. Deals made decades ago. What kind of deals? Land purchases. Backroom payoffs. Construction permits. Some of the land Dad acquired, it wasn't clean. There were bribes. Even threats to local black farmers. Jacob found out, he was going to go to the press. Monica's stomach turned. Did you crash the car? She asked quietly. No, Eli said quickly, eyes wide. We fought. He told me he was done hiding. I got out of the car at the intersection near Old Mill Road. I swear to God, Monica, I wasn't in the car when it crashed. I would never hurt him. But you kept it secret. Eli nodded, ashamed. Because I was afraid. Because Walter, he's capable of more than you know. Back at the house, lightning lit up the sky as Monica checked on Jacob. His eyes opened slowly when he heard her voice. Hey baby, she whispered. I saw the footage. I know Eli was with you. I know you were going to speak out. His eyes blinked once, slow, confirming. Was it Walter? She asked. Was he behind the crash? Jacob blinked. Long pause. Then, yes. Monica's chest tightened. He paid someone? Jacob blinked. Yes. Monica sat back, overwhelmed. The man she once called father, he hadn't just emotionally crushed the family. He had tried to erase her son. All for legacy, pride, and control. Downstairs, Walter sat by the fireplace, unmoved by the storm. Monica stormed in, notebook in hand. I know what you did. Walter looked up slowly, expression unreadable. You paid someone to stop Jacob, she said. To silence him. You found out what he knew, and you tried to destroy him. Walter stood, face hardening. Be very careful, Monica. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Your boy was a threat to this family. You think you're righteous, but you left. You always left. And when you finally come back, you bring chaos. Monica's hands were shaking. No. I brought truth. And it terrifies you. Walter stared at her a long moment, then turned and walked out, thunder rumbling behind him. As the storm peaked, the power went out. The house groaned with wind and rain. Monica lit candles and rushed upstairs to check on Jacob. Tasha met her in the hallway, breathless. Monica, it's Jacob. Something's wrong. They rushed into the room. Jacob was gasping, eyes wide with fear. His ventilator's failing, Tasha said, checking wires. We need to bag him manually until power comes back. Help me, now. Monica grabbed the bag valve mask and began compressing, heart pounding. Jacob's skin was pale, eyes fluttering. No, stay with me, she cried. Stay, Jacob, please. Tasha worked quickly to stabilize him. After minutes that felt like hours, his breathing leveled, weak but steady. But Monica knew. She looked into her son's eyes and saw what he wasn't saying. He was tired. So tired. Later, rain still pounding, Monica sat beside him, holding his hand. You fought so hard, she whispered. You carried the truth, even when no one would listen. A single tear rolled down Jacob's cheek. I'm listening now, she said. And I promise you, this doesn't end here. He blinked slowly, once, twice. Then, he slept. In the kitchen, Monica stared at her phone. She opened her notes app, typed everything. The will, the footage, the blinks, the threats. She saved the file. Then she emailed it to herself. And to a journalist in Montgomery she remembered from her past life, before Selma. A truth delayed was still a truth. And now, it was coming. The thunder had faded by morning, but the silence it left behind felt heavier than the storm. Jacob was gone. Monica sat motionless in the living room, her hands still damp from the effort of trying to save him. Tasha had done all she could. The paramedics had come too late. And now, the house was quiet, eerily so. No beeping machines. No soft whir of Jacob's breathing aid. Just the sound of wind pressing gently against the old wooden walls. Walter hadn't come downstairs. Carolyn had taken her daughter and gone to stay at a friend's house. Eli hadn't said a word since the moment they zipped Jacob into the body bag. And Monica had forgotten how to breathe without Jacob nearby. That afternoon, Monica stood beside her son's empty bed. The indent on the pillow. The folded blanket still holding his shape. She reached for the notebook where she had documented every blink, every code, every truth he'd handed her from a broken body. She pressed it to her chest. "I saw you," she whispered. "I heard you." A single photograph on the nightstand caught her eye. Jacob, age 12, beaming next to David, both of them in a fishing boat. David's arm was around him, eyes full of a pride that had long since turned to absence. She hadn't heard from David in over a year. At least, not until that night. It was just after sunset when she heard the front gate creak open. The knock at the door was hesitant, soft, almost apologetic. Monica opened it slowly. David Harris stood there, older, grayer, soaked from rain he must have walked through despite the weather clearing hours ago. "Hi," he said. His voice cracked. Monica stared at him, numb. "You don't get to say hi." "I heard about Jacob." She said nothing. "I came as soon as I could." "You left faster than that," she replied, eyes cold. He looked down at the porch. "I know. I deserve that." Monica stepped aside silently. He entered, and for a moment, it felt like a ghost was passing through the home. In the kitchen, they sat across from one another in silence, the air thick with things unsaid. David finally broke it. "I didn't leave because of you," he said. Monica raised an eyebrow. "No." "Then what was it?" "I left because of what I did. What I covered up." He slid a folder onto the table. Inside, an old ledger, legal papers, and a crumpled envelope with Walter Freeman's name in the corner. Monica opened it slowly. "Years ago," David began, "Jacob came to me. He found inconsistencies in Walter's finances, shell companies, property lines moved without permits, money that didn't add up." Monica read through the documents, her stomach twisting. David continued, "Jacob wanted to go public. I begged him to wait. I said I'd talk to Walter, get him to come clean. But when I confronted your father, he didn't deny it." "He paid people off?" Monica asked, voice sharp. "More than that," David said. "He threatened me. He told me if Jacob went forward, there would be consequences. And I believed him." Monica's eyes narrowed. "So you ran." "I didn't know what else to do," David said quietly. "I thought, maybe if I stayed away, Walter would ease up. But I think my leaving just made Jacob more determined. He felt abandoned by both of us. And he wouldn't stop digging." She shook her head, sick with guilt and rage. "You let him stand alone, David." "I know." Monica stared down at the paperwork. This could tear everything down." "It will," David said. "But it's time. I should have never protected Walter. I thought I was keeping us safe. But I only left Jacob more vulnerable." Monica folded the papers and tucked them back into the envelope. "You don't get forgiveness. Not yet. But you will help me make this right." David nodded. Later that night, Monica sat in Jacob's room, alone once more. She ran her fingers along the spine of the notebook. Pages filled with blinking words that told stories no one else wanted to hear. Then she opened her phone and played the final message Jacob had blinked just before the storm, one Tasha had transcribed. "You saved me." She wept quietly, clutching the phone to her chest. The following morning, the house was still quiet, but it no longer felt like a tomb. Monica walked into Walter's study and dropped the folder on his desk. "You destroyed this family with secrets," she said. "But you didn't bury them deep enough." Walter didn't look at the folder. He just said, "If you do this, Monica, there's no going back." She met his eyes. "I have no interest in going back." Outside, The Harris family home stood still beneath a gray Alabama sky. But something had shifted. Later that day, Monica drove to Montgomery. With David beside her, she walked into the newsroom of a regional paper and handed the envelope to the editor herself. Inside that envelope was everything: the fake land titles, the list of payoffs, the shell company tied to Walter's name, and a statement Jacob had once written, stored in a flash drive Tasha found hidden in Jacob's wheelchair frame. His voice, even in death, would be heard. The church bells in Selma rang solemn and slow, echoing across cracked sidewalks and humid June air. Inside the small white chapel, a crowd gathered, some to mourn, others simply to be seen. Jacob's casket sat at the front, draped in white lilies, a photograph of him before the accident placed beside it, bright-eyed, alive, unstoppable. Monica stood near the front, her black dress plain, her face unreadable. David sat a few rows behind, hands clenched in his lap. Carolyn arrived late, tugging her teenage daughter behind her. Eli didn't come at all. When the pastor finally spoke, his words drifted over Monica like fog. "We are here to celebrate a life cut short, but not forgotten." She didn't hear the rest. Her mind buzzed with Jacob's final blinks, the sealed envelope now delivered to the press, and the knowledge that her family's entire legacy was about to be dragged into daylight. After the service, mourners formed a line to speak with her. Neighbors, old classmates of Jacob's, even a few of Walter's longtime acquaintances. Each gave their condolences, but behind their polite words, Monica saw what they weren't saying. What happened to that boy? Why didn't anyone stop it? Then came Walter. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He simply nodded once, stiffly, and walked past her like a politician working a crowd. That was the last straw. Back at the house, a reception buzzed with quiet conversation, trays of cold finger foods, and glasses of sweet tea. Monica stood near the staircase, watching the whole scene like an outsider. She spotted Walter holding court in the corner with a few family friends. Carolyn hovered nearby, avoiding Monica's gaze. Tasha, ever faithful, stood beside Monica with folded arms. "You okay?" Tasha asked gently. "No," Monica replied. "But I will be." And then she crossed the room. "Dad," she said, loudly enough for the group to turn. Walter looked up, face immediately hardening. "Monica, this isn't the time." "Oh, I think it's exactly the time." The room went quiet. "You pretended to be the pillar of this family, but you built everything on lies. And Jacob, my son, died trying to uncover what you covered up." People shifted uncomfortably. Carolyn stepped forward. "Monica, not here." "You don't get to stop me," Monica snapped. "You looked the other way while Jacob was trying to warn us. You let him suffer, and you let me suffer, all so you could protect your secrets." Walter's expression didn't crack. "Be very careful, Monica." She held up her phone. "I already turned it over. The papers. The footage. Jacob's messages. I handed it to the press and the authorities. They'll come soon enough." The room gasped. "You did what?" Carolyn hissed, eyes wide. "I told the truth," Monica said calmly. "Something this family should have done a long time ago." Carolyn's voice rose. "You're going to destroy everything we have." "There's nothing left worth saving," Monica said. "Jacob was the best of us, and we let him down." The crowd slowly dispersed after the confrontation, awkward condolences muttered as people headed for the door. Monica returned to Jacob's room, which still smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender oil. She sat on the edge of his bed, exhausted but alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. Downstairs, a door slammed. David appeared in the doorway. "They're talking about you already," he said. "I hope so." He hesitated. "You sure you want to go through with this? Once it's out, there's no undoing it." "I know," she said, standing. "But I also know Jacob wouldn't forgive me if I stopped now." He nodded slowly. "I wish I'd been stronger back then." "You still have time to be," Monica replied. That night, Monica couldn't sleep. Something tugged at her, a whisper in the corners of her memory. She found herself pacing through the attic, flashlight in hand. The old attic smelled of dust, insulation, and the past. Trunks lined the walls. Yellowed boxes stacked beside brittle Christmas wreaths. She knelt and opened an old cedar chest, the same one her mother used to store baby clothes and family keepsakes. Inside, beneath a folded quilt, was a worn shoebox sealed with a red ribbon. She opened it carefully. Letters. Old photographs. And then, a folded set of handwritten pages with her name on them. Her mother's handwriting. It was the rest of the letter. Trembling, Monica sat cross-legged on the attic floor and read. Monica, if you find this, it means the letter I left you downstairs was taken. I don't trust Carolyn or Eli, and certainly not your father. You were always the one who saw the truth. If you've returned home, then something must have gone terribly wrong. I wish I had told you sooner. Take Jacob and go. Don't look back. There are things your father has done that I can't live with anymore. I stayed silent because I was afraid. Please, don't be like me. Tears fell onto the pages. She folded the letter carefully, holding it to her chest like a shield. Her mother had known. She'd tried to protect her, in the only quiet way she could. The following morning, Monica called the police. And the press. By noon, reports had begun trickling out across Alabama, hints of financial misconduct, abuse of power, and a possible cover-up linked to the Freeman family. A wider investigation was launched. Eli, who had attempted to skip town, was stopped on the outskirts of Montgomery. Walter stayed silent, refusing interviews, retreating behind the estate's high walls. And Monica stood on her front porch, looking out over the fields where she and her siblings once played as children. It was all burning now, figuratively. But maybe, just maybe, the truth could grow from those ashes. Selma's morning sky was pale and overcast, casting a soft gray light over the Freeman home. It was the last day Monica Harris would ever wake up beneath its roof. The house was nearly empty now. Carolyn had left without a word after the funeral blow-up, and Eli was sitting in the Montgomery County Jail awaiting questioning. Walter hadn't come out of his room in 2 days. The police had already made multiple visits, and the press had begun circling like vultures. Monica stood in the kitchen, sipping her coffee slowly. The place was quieter than she'd ever known it to be. Even the floors seemed to creak more gently, as if exhausted by decades of secrets. Across from her on the table sat Jacob's final message, written down from blinking Morse code just days before his death. You saved me. She carried it with her now like scripture. The sale of the house was closing that afternoon. Monica had signed the final papers the night before. A young couple from Birmingham, unaware of the ghosts inside, was eager to start their life in a historic home. Let them, Monica thought. Let someone make this place clean again. David stood by the car in the driveway, duffel bag in hand. You sure about this? He asked. Yes, she replied, no hesitation. He gave a slow nod. I'll follow your lead, wherever that is. Monica looked at him. I'm not inviting you back into my life. Not now. Maybe not ever. His expression flickered with pain, but he understood. Then let me say this before I go. I never stopped loving you, even when I failed you. And I'll never stop missing him. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She simply stepped forward, placed a hand on his cheek, and whispered, Goodbye, David. He got in the car and drove away, the tires crunching over gravel, then fading into the distance. Monica made one final stop before leaving town. The Selma Police Department. Detective Harris, no relation, greeted her with quiet respect. Your statement was enough to push the DA. Between the surveillance footage, Jacob's communications, and the contents of your mother's letter, they're opening a full investigation into your father's past dealings. Monica nodded. And the bribery? The payoff David confessed to? It's being reviewed by federal prosecutors. It goes deeper than we thought. She handed over the last item in her possession, her mother's full letter, the one she found in the attic. She warned me. Years ago. I just didn't see it. Harris gave her a soft smile. You did now. That's what matters. As Monica left the station, a local news van pulled up to the curb. Reporters shouted questions. Ms. Harris, is it true your father falsified property deeds? Did your son uncover the Freeman financial records? Will you testify in court? She walked past them, silent. She wasn't here to perform. She was here to bury the past. Her final visit in Selma was to the cemetery. A short gravel road led her to the freshly packed earth beneath Jacob's modest headstone. No marble angels. No polished grandeur. Just his name, birth and death dates, and a line she had chosen from one of his school essays. Truth is the only legacy that lasts. She knelt by his grave, brushing away a fallen leaf. I'm leaving now, she said softly. Like Mom wanted us to. The wind rustled in the trees. I wish you were coming with me. But I'm carrying you with me. Always. From her coat pocket, she pulled the paper that read, You saved me. She folded it carefully and slid it under a stone at the edge of the grave. Back at the house, movers loaded the last boxes. Monica stood at the threshold one final time, glancing over the worn hardwood, the faded wallpaper, the hallway where her childhood lived and died. She turned off the lights, locked the door, and slipped the keys into the realtor's dropbox. When she got into her car, a silence settled over her, deep and sacred. She rolled down the window and took one last breath of Alabama air. It smelled like honeysuckle and rain. Then she drove. Hours passed. The landscape changed. Red clay gave way to soft fields and then highways lined with pine. Somewhere between Selma and the rest of her life, Monica's phone buzzed in the passenger seat. Blocked number. Voicemail. She didn't answer. But after a few minutes, curiosity got the better of her. She pulled into a gas station and played the message. You were never supposed to find the letter. A man's voice. Cold. Familiar in a way that chilled her. She played it again, pressing the phone to her ear. You were never supposed to find the letter. It wasn't Walter. It wasn't Eli. It wasn't David. Her hand trembled. Who had known about the letter, enough to intercept it, reseal it, and now warn her away. She looked around the parking lot, heart suddenly pounding. No one out of place. Just a family pumping gas and a teenager on a skateboard. She saved the voicemail. The story wasn't over. Not completely. Later that night, Monica checked into a small coastal inn in Florida. She stared out the window at the ocean, waves pulling in and out like breath. She felt something lift inside her. Not joy, not yet. But the weight had changed. It was no longer crushing her. It was reshaping her. She thought of her mother, silenced by fear. Of Jacob, silenced by injury. Of herself, silenced by shame. And she thought, no more silence. Monica walks down to the beach just before sunrise. The sky is still dark, but there's a faint pink on the horizon. She carries no luggage, no phone, just herself. She steps into the surf, ankle deep, closes her eyes. Jacob is gone. The truth is out. The family is broken. But she, Monica Harris, is still here. And that means something. The light begins to rise.